Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. Yes, finally I'm here to talk about Twice Upon a Time. No, really, I am here to talk about Twice Upon a Time. I've started this podcast about 5 times. Seriously. But then again, it took me 4 attempts to watch the actual episode on Christmas Day. This isn't because I hated it, by any stretch of the imagination. I am the father of an 8-year-old daughter, and it was Christmas Day after all. We have been up, well, it felt like forever. I'd long ago accepted the fact that I won't be watching Doctor Who on broadcast. But, you know, this isn't the days of VHS, when quality would drop. No, these are the days where you can record things on Sky Plus or even the BBC iPlayer. Download them to a tablet or your phone and watch them again when you're allowed. So, at 11:30 that night, when we crawled into bed, I thought, I'll put it on now, while my wife gently drifts off to sleep. It's not the same watching it without her, because her sarcastic comments are basically the bedrock of the entire podcast. But that's beside the point. I was tired. I nodded off. Then there was a loud piece of music. I suspect it was the bit where, well, you end up inside the bit that looks a lot like the dial. So I wake up. And then I start watching it again. And precisely the same thing happens. On the 3rd attempt, I wake up at exactly the same loud piece of music. It's at this point, about 12:15, that I wave the white flag, decide that this just isn't going to happen, and go to sleep. Then, something wakes us up about 3:30 in the morning. My wife swears it's 5:30, but I saw the clock. And she says, no, let's watch it now. So we watch it together. And that was the first time that I managed to get to see it. So, it starts with 209 episodes earlier. Why is that so much more intrusive than previously on? People have never had a problem with previously on, or even last time. But let's face it, in the classic series of Doctor Who, all you got was a reprise of the last 2 minutes of the previous episode. But here, we have something, well, it's a false start. It is old footage. It is a clips bit of the 10th planet. Hartnell is before us. Now, this is where I need to go off on a tangent. Trust me, this review will be full of tangents. That is what it's for. First off, I think that this story has a lot more in common with the 5 Doctors than anybody seems to be making out. Bear with me. In the 5 Doctors, there's a line along the lines of, a Time Lord, no, a person is the sum of their memories, a Time Lord even more so. And yet, when this is proven to be correct, well, that is something the Doctor is not particularly pleased with. So, as a theme, memory and the existence and the importance of people, well, that's something we'll be coming back to. But more importantly, the opening of the 5 Doctors has the original Hartnell doing his lovely, I will come back, yes, I will, and go forth, and blah-de-blah, all that, yeah. Yes. All of that business. And then Richard Hurndall plays him for the entire rest of the story. And as fans, we just accept it. We couldn't get Hartnell. We might as well have a bloke who looks like he's on his way to a convention, and just accept that. Now, as you've probably heard, my review of the Big Finish Bradley First Doctor stories, you won't be surprised to hear that I quite like this performance, but it's interesting to note that on certain podcasts, people have really taken exception to the smacked bottom. As, how can I put this? As an example of how the First Doctor's thoughts and deeds differed tremendously from our current sensibilities, the ones that are on display. I'm wondering that in 50 years' time, the Capaldi review and worldview might seem a little dated as well. That's just the way things are. I mean, let's face it, I've been doing the UFO cast for long enough now to know that television of the past is definitely of its time. The phrase "of its time" should be added to the drinking game. Where am I going with this? It doesn't matter. Suffice to say, that opening with Hartnell was a nice touch. Yes, we managed to morph into Bradley and go into widescreen, and it looked glorious. Ben and Polly, massively underserved. I was hoping the 12th Doctor would turn up in the story at some point, but no, there is nothing from the 10th planet that isn't already in the 10th planet. I suspect that Mr. Capaldi was not particularly chuffed at this, but I know there are photographs of him on set, so that's fine. So, did the story serve Bradley's First Doctor, or was it just a different interpretation? I know that he can pull off a perfectly good First Doctor. For example, we've heard that very thing very recently on The Big Finishes, and if you are interested in that sort of thing, I strongly recommend you go and get hold of it. It's a different worldview, but you know what? It's lovely to experience. The guy can act. Admittedly, I always find him slightly off-nerving, but that's because of the characters he's played in the past. He's such a good actor, I've believed them. I've believed that he couldn't possibly be that nice. But there he is, with his, I'm guessing, Yorkshire accent in real life, just acting the socks off everyone. Absolutely all of the not we have talked to really enjoyed the First Doctor's appearance. Apart from, of course, the people who enjoyed the First Doctor being the First Doctor back in the 60s, who said, well, he was close enough for this story. Now, what's my problem with this story? Okay, it isn't that there's a new Doctor at the end. It isn't that, for no apparent reason, they've made the first female Doctor blonde. Not really sure what's going on there, but you know what, I can deal with all of that. No, my issue with this story, and I'm going back to the GNT mantra, is there's no monsters. Now, a few months ago, when we are looking through the BBC News site, my wife turns to me and she says, there's Doctor Who news, and I tend to ignore this sort of thing because I want to experience the stories. So Doctor Who news, that's fine. And on the Doctor Who news, there is a picture of Mark Gatiss and Bradley and Capaldi. You've all seen this still, dressed in the First World War uniform. I think this predates the Children in Need bit. Well, the minute that my wife sees the First World War, she goes, oh yeah, it's definitely the football team's armistice thing. You know, you all remember the Blackadder bit. Well, she was completely right. The thing that she was wrong on, however, was something more curious. When the glass woman was showing them around and talking about memories and things like that, it wasn't that she was from new Earth. Oh no. My wife's theory was that the glass woman showing the Doctor the past was the Doctor's future self. I said, oh, they wouldn't do that before it's been done. She went, when? I went, well, for Peter Davison, it was the Watcher. She went, well, I can't remember any of that, because she's not. She's one of the not we. But it is interesting that was the kind of storyline I was going for. The issue for me, as always, is that there was no monsters. Just like those seasons of Buffy, I think it was season 5, or that thing under the bed, there just wasn't a monster. There was no villain, there was no creature, there was nothing frightening. And as such, it just became not the pantomime walk down of the end of the Tennant era. No, it became just something you had to get through. You see, I've not mentioned this. You know for a fact that I don't enjoy watching Doctor Who. The actual physical act of sitting down and working my way through an episode I find physically upsetting me. And I'm not going to not watch Doctor Who. What I want to have done is I want to have seen it. I want the actual experience of watching Doctor Who to be in the past. The constant moving forward, the listening to stuff on Big Finish, it's a constant drain on resources and time, because I just need to have had experienced all of it. It's a psychological issue that I need to deal with. But you know what? On Christmas Day I was a pain. Because once I'd known that it was on, once I'd known that this Doctor Who episode existed in the world and I'd not seen it, I started getting irritable and jumpy. I'm not a nice person to be around, so I fight it, and it starts coming out in different ways. It's not clever. Yes, there were lots of metatextual things involved in the story, things to distract me. But you know what? Just knowing that there was a regeneration out there that I'd not seen made me a pain. So I could talk about the Mr. Pastry stuff, the stuff about his face being weird. I could even go on and on about the destruction of the TARDIS. Do you not think that the Doctor would learn that if they're about to regenerate, go somewhere where there isn't anyone around, say Antarctica, and just let it happen, let the energy go out? Then you don't have to have a TARDIS rebuilt. It's very silly. So, did I enjoy it? It was alright. Did I enjoy the 2 Doctors with a different name? Yeah, of course I did. Was the black and white fade at the end perfectly acceptable? Yes, it was. But as a story without monsters, I don't know. Yes, you need everyone to turn up. You need the memories returned to Capaldi, because no writer in their right mind would ever destroy a kid the way that kids were destroyed in the war games when the memories of travelling with the Doctor were removed. No, you will remember Clara. She will appear in front of you. Because no one's quite that evil. No writers can bring themselves to do that. Not anymore. I didn't even mind Matt Lucas turning up. And his glass appendage jokes, well, that's just Matt, isn't it? It implies when they died, but you know what? Clara was already dead when she became immortal and travelled the universe, so goodness knows how many memories are going to be in there. And whether she was a puddle girl or not, or a recreation, everyone is the sum of their memories. This year, I lost my gran. She was old, but we were close. And it's not that long ago. And I was expecting to be upset about the nature of memory and things like that, and losing a Doctor. But I wasn't that upset. It was time for the Doctor to change. And we'll have a new one, and it'll be a woman. And within 5 seconds, everyone who said bad things will eat their words, they will eat their hats. It wasn't the best thing on TV this year. In fact, if you can, go and watch the thing that was upsetting this Christmas on TV. Feud. Make sure you're watching them in the right order, because I know the iPlayer brings them up backwards. And make sure you can watch every episode. And in the last 10 minutes of the last episode, episode 8, then you will cry. But as for this was just a fitting farewell. So I enjoyed it. I'll upload this and I'll let you hear it. So until next time, when I'm probably going to be talking about Doctor Who, be seeing you. 2018 brings with it 3 brilliant conventions, all held at the Derby Quad. ShadowCon 2. The UFO convention will be on June the 30th, 2018. Hooverville, the best little Doctor Who convention in the world, is on Saturday the 1st of September, while Big Finish Day is on the 3rd of November 2018. All tickets are available from the Derby Quad website. That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.